Like, subscribe, and leave a comment. So UFC Fight Night in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh. I think Riyadh season's still continuing. It's going to be Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev in the main event. So obviously we have Robert Whittaker, the Reaper, the former middleweight champion. His last win was over Paulo Costa. That was a really good fight, pretty close fight, but Robert did win that. Before that, though, he was KO'd by Dricus du Plessis in a match I thought Robert Whittaker would dominate, but he didn't. Before that, I know he beat Kelvin Gastelum as well. He's beaten what's his name, Jared Cannonier as well. So he has beaten some top tier competition. Obviously his losses have been to Israel Adesanya recently in the middleweight division, besides Dricus du Plessis, and that's it. Then we have Khamzat Chimaev. So Khamzat Chimaev is undefeated in the UFC. Last win was over Kamaru Usman via split decision. Kamaru Usman did come off the couch and did face Khamzat after 1 week. But one thing I'll say is, obviously Khamzat was preparing for the fight. It's still, you're still preparing for a different opponent. So even though it's a quick turnaround, and Kamaru Usman has not been training, he may have been training, but it's still a quick turn. It's still a change of opponent for Khamzat, for who he was preparing for originally. So there's that aspect to it. So you have to think about that. But anyway, but he's beat Kamaru Usman recently. He's beat Gilbert Burns. That was a great fight. Kevin Holland, Li Jinliang. Yeah, it's beating some decent people. It's beating some decent people. I feel like with Khamzat, the UFC is treating him like WWE. Like, okay, you got to go for this hoop, this hoop, this hoop, then you get a title shot. But I get it. They want him to be established at middleweight. They want him to beat a established middleweight. And no other middleweight that you need to beat than Robert Whittaker. You beat Robert Whittaker, you're getting a title shot. Look at Dricus du Plessis. So I think this is the perfect win if he was to win for Khamzat Chimaev. But it is like he was promised a title fight before, and promised a title fight before that. So it is, but I get what the UFC do. They want it to be a bit more established, which makes sense as well. And which makes sense to the fans and the critics. They want him to have an established win over middleweight. Who do I think will win? So I think it's going to come down to the striking versus Khamzat striking. So if you look at Khamzat striking versus Robert Whittaker striking, I'm going to give the edge to Robert Whittaker. It's more diverse. He's got kicks. He's got really a different range of attacks. Khamzat is a good boxer. He's a good boxer with a bit of kicks, but I'd give the kicking and the striking more towards Robert Whittaker. In regards to wrestling, I know Robert Whittaker can wrestle. He's a really good wrestler and defensive wrestler, but I'm going to lean towards Khamzat, because Khamzat utilized the wrestling a lot more than what Robert Whittaker does in his fights. He didn't really see that much wrestling in his last fight. Khamzat is primarily a wrestler with boxing as well. That leads to the prediction. Who do I think is going to win? It's too hard to call on this one. There's too many factors for me. Khamzat's cardio at 5 rounds. Is he good for 5 rounds? I don't know yet. Who's wrestling? So Khamzat is a wrestler, but how good is Robert Whittaker's takedown defense? I'm not sure yet. Against a power wrestler like Khamzat, and at 185, have Khamzat got the power to take him down, the power to dominate this fight? I'm not sure yet. Robert Whittaker does have the better striking, but let's say Khamzat has good striking as well. So let's say he hasn't shown his full arsenal of striking. I'm not sure. I know in his last fight he said he broke his hand. So on this one here, I'm one of the rare ones. I've done this before. I'm not really making a prediction. You lot tell me who you think's gonna win here. I'm not sure. If I'm doing percentages, 50.5 to Robert Whittaker, 49.5 to Khamzat. But that's not a prediction. That's a percentage. I have no idea who's gonna win this. Who do you think is gonna win?